Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is the conclusion video of a series that I've been doing on the Amanda Rabb case. So if you haven't seen any of those prior videos, you're probably going to want to take a look at them, or this video isn't going to make a lot of sense. It's just going to be a conclusion of something that makes zero sense, because this case in particular is really confusing to begin with. It's got a lot of twists and turns. It's got a lot of unknown information. A lot of misleading statements have been made. It just goes on and on down the rabbit hole. So let's just get on with this video. First, I need to talk about something that has been brought to my attention regarding the synthetic cannabinoids that I believed to have been found in Amanda's system at the time of her death. Now, there have been a few comments saying that I'm putting out false information in regards to the results of the synthetic cannabinoid testing that was done. Now, first and foremost, I am very clear in all of my videos that I'm only giving my opinion. I am not a professional in a medical or a legal field. I'm just a regular person at the end of the day with zero legitimate credentials in the medical or legal field, which I state throughout every single one of my videos repeatedly, as well as putting visuals on the screen and having it written in the description box below, as well as during my intro disclaimer. I want to address this particular matter because there have been a few comments, and I want it to be understood why I have the opinion that I do. Again, opinion, not fact. To be clear, the facts are listed on the reports, and I can only go off of the reports that I have access to. If the information has been redacted or is not included in the public records, then I can only speculate. These videos contain my opinion on those facts, and wherever I'm speculating, I try to be very clear, but it seems to get overlooked from time to time. I also realize that this is a very big deal. I mean, whether or not there were or were not synthetic cannabinoids in Amanda Rabb's system means the difference between her being sober at the time of her death or having relapsed and no longer maintaining sobriety. This would also be a big deal for Leeming Lawsuit, who is still to this day talking about how she got and kept Amanda Rabb sober. Because if Amanda was occasionally partaking in smoking synthetic cannabis, then she was not sober and she had relapsed. Not only that, but we already talked about how dangerous synthetic marijuana is and how lethal it can be, even in small doses and first-time consumption. Lima had not been successful. Either way. But whether or not Amanda Rabb was sober is a very big deal, and I really want to know that for certain. I have reached out to NMS Labs, the lab that did Amanda's toxicology report. The records have to still be there because it says on their website that they hold their records for 10 years. But so far, I haven't heard back. That would be the best way to know for certain, is for me to get the full tox report, because these reports can look similar, but they are never the same. I was directed by a commenter to look at George Floyd's tox report, which was run by NMS Labs, the same lab that ran Amanda Rabb's toxicology, to compare the two and to confirm that I was wrong in saying that there were cannabinoids in Amanda's system. So right now, I'm going to do my best to explain why I'm still not 100% convinced that I am wrong. After that, we'll go right into my conclusion. First, this is Amanda Rabb's NMS Labs tax report. This is the positive findings box listing all the things found at or above the reporting limit. Note that the source of Amanda Rabb samples are from peripheral blood and vitreous fluid. This is George Floyd's NMS Labs tox report, or the first page at least. And here you can see his positive findings within the box. Very different findings. The second to last page on both reports, there is the analysis, summary, and reporting limits. It is here where I notice the similarity. And I believe this is what the commenter was saying, how the reports are similar. The ELISA analysis looks identical, as you can see here, and additionally, the gas-based chromatography is also identical, which indicates that these are merely the reporting limits of these substances. This is just a basic representation that would be on all tox reports from this particular lab. So I do see this and I understand this. One of the differences, though, is that George Floyd wasn't tested for synthetic cannabinoids. So I can't compare that at all. I tried to do my best to figure this out, and I grabbed a couple of samples from the NMS website to compare to Amanda's report, and this is what I would have expected to see if the results were in fact negative, in addition to the report. And this is what I would expect to see if the results were positive. Yet, this is what we have. So we're just to assume that that means that there were none, even though it doesn't say that anywhere. It's almost like a page or two are missing, the pages that would make the results clear. Another thing about the positive findings that are, or should I rather say, are not listed in this box, such as the medications that the nurse said were given to Amanda Rabb the night she passed away. The hydralazine, the losartan, the risperidone. The only thing here is gabapentin. Where are those other medications? There was also aspirin. Where's the aspirin?
When I had spoken to the medical staff and asked them, they told me that, aside from her medications, Amanda only had Tylenol in her system. Fast forward, it was aspirin, not Tylenol.
They didn't meet the reporting limit, so they aren't there. But there certainly couldn't have been none in her system. You see what I mean? Synthetic cannabinoids are not on the positive findings list, but the only thing that means is that the amount was lower than the reporting limit. It doesn't mean there weren't trace amounts. And while certain things in trace amounts would not be abnormal to find and wouldn't be worth reporting, synthetic cannabinoids would not be found in trace amounts in anyone's body if they hadn't used them. It may seem as though I'm grasping at straws to prove that I'm right, but that's not at all what I'm trying to do. There is no way to know whether or not none was detected because the remainder of this report is not here. And while it does state that NMS labs can be contacted for the full results, I don't quite understand why this test was added on if they weren't going to be 100% transparent with the results. What I'm saying is, I'm wondering if just like the autopsy was 90% redacted after a court order, was the same for the public toxicology. That's it. That's all I'm asking. The autopsy report could answer this question too, but we don't have that either. Like I said, it's 90% redacted. And in order for that to have happened, like I said, someone actually had to go to court and file to have it redacted. So at this point, I'm going to move on from this and go into my conclusion. We will talk about this again at the end to kind of tie it all in. I really wanted to have some solid answers here, but I still only have questions. I hope that I at least cleared up any confusion about whether or not I'm saying for a fact Amanda Rabb had synthetic cannabinoids in her system when she died. I cannot say for a fact that she did, but I also can't say that she didn't. I'm not still convinced that there weren't trace amounts. Why was the test added on in the first place? Why were there loose cigarettes all over her nightstand? Yet there were also cigarettes in packs. Rumor has it, the clients there would frequent the smoke shops, and there were many reports of drug use within the facility. There were rumors of patients trading meds, abusing their meds, being prescribed the wrong meds. No one was really watching them or monitoring them. The place is a joke, in my opinion. The only thing I'm damn near 100% certain of is that neglect is what killed Amanda Rabb. And again, that's just my opinion. I can be 100% certain all the hell I want, right? But I'm not qualified to state anything as a fact unless I have proof. My beliefs are just that. They're a feeling, a gut feeling, but not a fact. Whether it was undiagnosed or underdiagnosed illness, misdiagnosis, overdose, interaction of medications, wrong medications, no medications, lack of services that were promised, such as routine visits with a licensed medical doctor. I mean, look at what we learned from April Leeming's lawsuit. That's just one of the many wrongful death lawsuits filed against AAC's Desert Hope facility, and one of several lawsuits filed against AAC in general, which we didn't even get into those. I'm just saying there's a lot of unanswered questions. It's just very confusing. It's confusing to read the reports. It's confusing to understand why certain things were left out if there's nothing to hide. Like I said, nothing that I am saying here I can prove as fact unless I straight up say this is a fact. So let's move on to the conclusion. My conclusion, anyway, my opinion of this case and where I want to leave this case off for now. My hope is that someone who actually does have credentials and is legitimately licensed in these areas, who cares about this case, to come across this information and actually do something with it that I can't do. The rest of this video might be difficult to swallow for some, but it is necessary for me to conclude my opinion of what I believe happened to Amanda Rabb and who I believe should be held accountable, in my opinion. I think the best way to do this is to go through everybody involved in Amanda's journey one by one, starting with Mark Leta from Soft White Underbelly. We were first introduced to Amanda Rabb on December 14th of 2019. This was Amanda Rabb when she first met Mark Leta.
I didn't have a mom growing up, so it was just me and my father. I had to move to my mom's family's house, so I grew up with them. I just went with them. It was just a better situation.
Any problems with that?
No.
She looks healthy. I mean, if it weren't for her not wearing a shirt under those overalls, I wouldn't think she was any different from any other woman in her early 20s. Then we see her again here on March 1st of 2020, 3 months later.
Uncle, they took me in because I was with my dad. He turned out to be a molester, so his wife left him.
She looks drastically different here. She clearly has injuries to her face. She's acting a bit erratically. And one thing I wanted to point out is that Amanda Rabb has been painted out to be a very severe addict on Soft White Underbelly. But Amanda was one of the more relatable people that Mark Leta had on his channel. So this BS about how she was the worst case or beyond saving is just that. It's bullshit. Take a look at some of the other people Mark Leta had on his channel around the same time as Amanda was being featured.
I had the best childhood ever. We went on vacation. I went too close. It was great. I was spoiled when I was a kid because I'm the baby and they didn't want, because I'm dual diagnosed. I don't, you feel me? And I was molested by my uncle. They always said when you're molested when you're a kid, you automatically do prostitution.
You can't make any money. This fucking person keeps fucking blocking me.
Help him.
They still keep blocking me. They still keep blocking me, man. Unblock me. Come on, help me. 911. 911. Get this bitch fucking dead, man. Get him dead.
And so you came to LA at 17.
Yeah.
And I mean, how was your childhood growing up?
It had its good days and its bad days, but my mom was a single mom. She did the best she could. Then she had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend molested me for like 3 years. Then he raped me. I was like 11 years old when that happened. So I'm like, most women when their kids come tell them, oh, I've been molested, they believe the bad guy over their own children. My mom didn't do that. My mom chased him out the house down the stairs with a big ass knife like that. Our neighbors that lived across from us had to stop her. 1st degree attempted murder. But then I had a good lawyer, so they dropped it down from that to assault with a deadly weapon with great bodily injury.
I said, I don't know what incident you're talking about. I don't know why I'm being detained. I'm related to this guy right here. He's my uncle. We have the same last name. I met him last week. And they're like, that sounds highly unlikely. We believe you. We just want you to tell us, we got this picture of your uncle. Can you tell me who the picture of, who is the man in this photograph? And I look at it and I'm like, you think that's my uncle? No, because this guy's got a totally different hair color. That's not my uncle, because they couldn't be. He's got a completely different hair color. And they're like, all right, thanks, man. That's all I need.
My son changed my life. I was 19 when I had him. And he changed everything. Because I felt like I had to, what I do, he gonna see. So I had to be an example, especially because his dad it wasn't a for sure thing. And we knew that in the beginning. It wasn't a for sure thing.
Okay. And how was your childhood? You grew up with both your parents?
No, my father was, I found him when I was 3, hanging from our basement rafters. But my mom and I had a stepdad. I know, in meth.
Crystal meth?
Yeah.
Got it. And what do you do for money? What a lot of girls do?
No. I dumpster dive.
What happened to your life as you got older? In high school? What kind of kid were you in high school?
I grew up well loved by my mother, but I really had very few friends and I was very lonely. I grew up very lonely. I've had a much more happy social life in my adult life.
I'm sorry?
I've had a much happier social life in my adult life.
Oh, I see. And how long have you been down here on the street? On Skid Row?
I've been down here since December 23rd, 2002.
What do you think? Also, we know that Mark and Larry were giving Amanda money. Mark even admitted to knowing that he was funding her crack addiction specifically.
When I get money from you, Mark, I give it away on some big shit.
I mean, your dad and I give you money to avoid you doing more dangerous things for your addiction that you're gonna do whatever it takes to get your money for crack. So if your dad and I give you a little bit of cash, that protects.
I don't murder these people.
He said this was to keep her from doing more dangerous things, but I call it enabling, especially because Amanda got worse and worse after she was being quote unquote helped.
Hi, hey guys, man. I just wanted to say I feel uncomfortable. The guy videotaping me right now. Just sending certain messages through. Basically, is me. You know what I'm saying? It's making me feel like he regrets helping me right now. So
I don't regret helping you.
Next, we have Lima.
Hi, I'm Leeming Abramovich, and I'm the founder of Autonomous User Rehabilitation Agent, or AURA for short,
who says that she met Amanda Rabb for the first time in jail. Yet, the timeline indicates that she may have had her eye on Amanda for longer than that. Or, at least, Mark had. BJ from BJ Investigates has already pointed out that in order for a conservatorship to be granted, you need a family member to sign off on it. And they had Larry Rabb, Amanda's father. Now here's something that I noticed a while back when I was trying to find out whether or not the alleged pipe incident was real.
When I originally found out who Amanda was already in jail. She had attacked her father, and Mark instructed him to call the police, but they didn't really know what they were going to do from that point on. And when he told me that she was already in jail, I'm like, okay, I can go to court for her.
I looked up Amanda Rabb's arrest records, and I only found one. And it had nothing to do with assault. It was actually for a California Penal Code 211, which is a robbery charge. The documents for this case are not fully available, but the date that Amanda Rabb was in court for this charge was 7/27 of 2020, July 27th, 2020. So this would be the charge that she was in jail for when Lima allegedly met her.
I didn't even know her at that time because when I met her, she was in jail.
Right.
she was in jail and all of her teeth were missing, and her jaw was dislocated and her face was like a balloon. Like, she was super, super skinny.
Right.
It was really, really sad.
There's no mention of any other charges that I could find. Nothing about an assault or a pipe at all. What does that mean?
Number one, I don't believe in ever setting anyone up, but I definitely don't believe in enabling somebody. But if they attack you and you're saying to the judge, I just want them to get help, I'm willing to do this and this and this. And so what I was advocating for was something in California called an LPS conservatorship. And that's a conservatorship of mental health. It's equivalent to a guardianship. From there, I had prepared all of the paperwork to show that this is a mental health case. It's not a criminal case. Amanda's father would come with me to court saying the same thing, like, yeah, she attacked me, but I don't want her to go to jail. I want her to get help. We had found a treatment center that was willing to accept her.
I don't know. All it means, in my opinion, is that there is no record with the court that Amanda attacked her father with a pipe, or anyone with a pipe, or any other weapon either. No assault charges for Amanda Rabb that I can find. Why not say robbery? Why say assault? Again, I don't know. Maybe one of you can help me understand that. So, allegedly, this is when Leeming Lawsuit met Amanda Rabb. And according to Lima, Amanda was a hot mess. She was battered and bruised. She was hardly communicating. Lima thought that Amanda was severely brain damaged.
I couldn't understand what she was saying when she would talk to me. I thought she had permanent brain damage, and I wasn't sure how far I would get with Amanda.
Again, this was July 2020, right? So this matches up with Lima saying that this was the time that the conservatorship was beginning to be put into place. But Lima's first interview introducing herself and her Aura Scholarship program was August 30th of 2020. Oddly enough, Amanda Rabb also had a video uploaded on Soft White Underbelly on August 30th of 2020. Yet, they hadn't met yet. I don't know. I'm so confused, but that is the point, isn't it? To make anyone looking into this case confused to the point that they sound stupid and crazy. Like conspiracy theorists. So, by August 30th, 2020, Amanda was full on in an LPS conservatorship that named Lima Yevremovich as her guardian. As Amanda's guardian, Lima had the responsibility of making sure that Amanda was taken care of. And that meant that she was living in a residential treatment center for her crack addiction and also being treated for her schizophrenia. Though Lima announced that Amanda was not schizophrenic anymore, that when sober, she had been re-evaluated, and it was said that she was misdiagnosed as schizophrenic because it was drug-induced.
And the first facility that she went to said that because Amanda had previously only been in facilities for like a couple days and then released, so she'd get in there high, she'd be talking to herself, and they'd be like, oh, schizophrenic. And so once she was in a facility for a longer period of time, they reached out and said, like, Amanda doesn't have schizophrenia, that was drug-induced.
Yet, Desert Hope Treatment Center claimed to have given Amanda Rabb barbiturates for her schizophrenia the night before she passed away, none of which actually showed up in the positive box on her toxicology report. We also know that Amanda Rabb was quote-unquote possibly diabetic, and that she had been using a glucometer to check her blood sugar, and also, according to her tox report, she had 0 glucose in her system by the time NMS Labs got her samples. Now, when I say 0, there may have been trace amounts, but it said none detected because it did not meet the reporting limit. And we went over a lot of these results in a different video. We know that we don't have everything we need to come to any real conclusion. Autopsy, toxicology, criminal records, medical records.
Once she passed, the coroner took months to get back to us and kept coming back with, I don't know. She passed away in the facility. So I was calling the facility, calling. No one would call me back.
Why was her death not questioned more by Lima and or Larry Rabb? I mean, she was 25 years old. She was sober. She was living in a residential treatment center with doctors, quote unquote, on site. Was she diabetic? Was she schizophrenic? Was she sober? What was the last time she was really seen alive? Why did it take so long for her to be found? for 911 to be called? Who went to court and had her autopsy damn near fully redacted, and why? All I know is that Amanda Rabb was coerced, manipulated, tricked, however you want to say it.
Number one, I don't believe in ever setting anyone up, but
in my opinion, into a conservatorship and ultimately put into a rehab that has a horrible reputation for being neglectful and dishonest. A rehab that people have died at from sheer neglect. This has been going on for over a decade now, and in my opinion, needs to stop now. Amanda Rabb is gone. April Leeming is gone. Sean Reyes is gone. Connor Johnson is gone. But their deaths can be a wake-up call. Their loss of life can be an incentive for change. Because here's the thing. There's not only one person to hold accountable for Amanda Rabb's death. There are several. Not one of those people, however, is Amanda Rabb. Now, if she had died from an OD on the streets of Skid Row, one could say that she made her own choices, knowing the risks. But that isn't the case now, is it? Amanda's choices were taken away from her, and all of those choices were given to Lima Yevremovich. The thing is, in my opinion, Lima had no idea what she was getting herself into.
Maybe you have at times thought that maybe you're a little overconfident in what you could bring to the table.
Oh, definitely.
You have a streak of that,
when
perhaps?
when I first went on Mark's channel, I was very idealistic.
It's already clear to me that she knows jack shit about addiction, and that's just my opinion. I mean, the fact that she thinks that putting newly sober people in triggering environments is a safe and humane form of therapy tells me just how ignorant she actually is when it comes to the addict brain, relapse, and recovery. She first went wrong when she decided to choose Amanda Rabb based off of the assumption that the viewers of Soft White Underbelly would foot the entire bill.
I went on Mark's channel and I announced that we're going to help Amanda. And so I was expecting, because there was such an overwhelming amount of people that were asking for that we were going to get a lot of support and we were going to be able to pay for her treatment.
Yes, she had Larry Rabb's consent. But remember that there were others on Soft White Underbelly that actually wanted help, according to Lima.
A few men and women that just seemed like they really wanted the help. So I made Mark a little list of people, and he said, why don't we let the public decide? So in my first interview, we basically just we told the viewers to vote for who they wanted in the comment section. And I also asked for comments from your viewers of who they wanted, right? Because the funding is coming from the viewers. And overwhelmingly, everybody was like, Amanda, 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 Amanda.
Like I said, Amanda had a following. She was relatable. People liked her. She was not the worst case that Mark had featured on his channel. People fell in love with her. People felt like she could be helped, and many said that they would financially help her out as well. Yet, Lima stated that they had only raised $1,500 for Amanda's rehabilitation.
I ended up raising $1,500.
Off this GoFundMe that you announced on Mark's channel?
Yes.
Which covered what, if I'm adding a day? Where were all of these well-wishers who claimed that they wanted to help Amanda? Did Lima do any research on this? I mean, in my opinion, she should have raised the money first. Mark should have followed through with this as well. Why did he even start this without any intention in seeing it through? Because that's what it seemed like he did.
Mark told me, he was like, well, you said that you could help anybody. And if you help Amanda, then you'll win people over. I told him, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. When I connected with Mark about it, when I originally found out who Amanda was already in jail. She had attacked her father, and Mark instructed him to call the police, but they didn't really know what they were going to do from that point on. And when he told me that she was already in jail, I'm like, okay, I can go to court for her.
He found Amanda Rabb on the streets of Skid Row, thought she was cute and personable to his audience, so he kept finding her and having her on his show, then gave her money to buy crack until her habit led her to jail, where Lima and Larry Rabb could get her under a conservatorship and use her as a case study and a cash cow to manipulate insurance companies into treating mental illness like physical illness.
My sisters were just getting worse, and I couldn't help them. And when people are like, why can't you help your sisters? Well, helping my sisters would cost $45,000 a month times 2, $90,000 a month, and I can't afford to pay it. But if I can demonstrate with someone, like I thought if the audience picks somebody and helps to pay for their medical bills, then we could, and I use the word case study, and people are like, oh, Lima's experimenting on Amanda.
But here's the thing. Amanda wasn't mentally ill. She was a drug addict. The luxury rehab that Lima got Amanda Rabb into was $40,000 a month. The GoFundMe raised $1,500.
The facility that Amanda was at in California was $40,000 a month. And the woman kept texting me like, when am I going to get paid? When am I going to get paid? And I told her, that we would pay her that month. And so...
How did this happen? What was the end goal here? Where was Lima planning on getting $250,000 for a full year of treatment for Amanda Rabb? Also, how did the 8 months of treatment at Desert Hope Treatment Center get paid for? Was it paid for? Desert Hope Treatment Center are financially motivated. That has been alleged quite a bit. How did they feel about giving up a bed or room to a patient that wasn't paying? They don't accept Medicaid or any type of government aid, only cash and private insurance. So how was Amanda Rabb able to continue treatment there? Who was paying? Who was paying for the meds she was being given? They didn't have enough money to even bury Amanda Rabb, yet they were prepared to pay for another 4 months of treatment in a sober living house. Granted, Desert Hope Treatment Center, I don't believe was $40,000 a month. It was probably a bit less than the original treatment center that Amanda Rabb was at and what the plan was for her to stay at. But they were prepared to pay for another 4 months of treatment in a sober living house, CNA classes, I don't know. I'm so confused. It must be the conspiracy theorist in me. Who was the treating medical doctor for Amanda Rabb? My guess? No one. She was merely riding out her time at Desert Hope Treatment Center until she could be released. She probably led a lot of the groups, so they didn't have to pay someone to do it. It was said a few times by people that Amanda led groups. It had also been said in complaints that a lot of patients led groups. I don't know, you guys. This is supposed to be a conclusion, but the only thing that I can come to the conclusion of here is that Amanda Rabb was failed by multiple people. Her death was a wrongful death, in my opinion, and unfortunately, the statute of limitations is up. As conservator, Lima could have fought for answers. Larry, as her father, could have fought for answers. They both fought more for money to put her in rehab than they did to find out how and why she died there. In my honest opinion, Lima knows that something shady went on here, but she hardly had a way to keep Amanda Rabb in treatment anymore, let alone a way to legally fight American addiction centers. Plus, she had a close relationship with American addiction centers. She wouldn't have wanted to go up against them, would she? In a way, when Amanda passed, Lima was free of this obligation that she ended up not being able to afford. Obviously, that is entirely speculation. As a human being, I would think that Lima feels absolutely horrible about all of this, but she blamed it all on Amanda being homeless and the suffering that Amanda went through on the streets of Skid Row.
Yeah, so the reason that it took so long is because there was a lot of lack of documentation because Amanda was homeless. Larry and I also sent in your videos to kind of show her condition from the drug use and the beatings that she took. They couldn't tell if the seizures are from past drug use or traumatic brain injury from the assaults, since the assaults were not well documented.
The rapes, the beatings, the drug use, but that's not what took her life at the end of the day.
And it says that there's no evidence of traumatic brain injury, and anyone that knew Amanda or anyone that watched the videos knew that She was violently raped and beaten on several occasions where she lost most of her teeth. Her jaw was dislocated. She had a lot of brain trauma. She could barely talk when I met her.
Because she wasn't living on the streets smoking crack and being beaten and raped anymore. She was safe and sober in a medical rehabilitation facility. At least that was the portrait that was painted for us being the general public. My conclusion of this case is that there can be many different causes of Amanda Rabb's death, including the few causes given by Lima. The first cause given by Lima was post-traumatic epilepsy.
Post-traumatic epilepsy. But they couldn't mark it as post-traumatic epilepsy because of a lack of evidence.
And the explanation was that this was because of years on the streets of Skid Row, being addicted to crack and repeatedly raped and beaten.
They couldn't tell if the seizures are from past drug use or traumatic brain injury from the assaults, since the assaults were not well documented.
The second cause, which was given by the Clark County coroner, was a cardiac arrhythmia. And the explanation for that was lack of evidence after months of trying to gather medical records.
So I guess they didn't have the medical records. The coroner that performed the autopsy did not have the medical records from the facility in which she passed away from.
Despite the fact that Amanda Rabb was in a medical facility for the prior 8 months, allegedly meeting with a physician, according to American Addiction Center's policy, yet there was not enough to prove what could have caused her sudden death. Help me understand that. We know from the tox report that Amanda Rabb was dehydrated, at the very least, at the time of her death. She had no glucose detected in her system at a reporting limit. According to her tox, she had nothing in her system, not even aspirin or the medications that the staff of Desert Hope Treatment Center said she was given the night before. Just a very small amount of gabapentin, some caffeine, and cotinine. She had high potassium, low sodium, even considering these results were taken post-mortem. We don't know what the levels for the trace amounts of anything else that was listed under the reporting limit. We don't know the condition of her organs, only her heart, which actually appears to have been functioning normally up until the time of her death. We do know she suffered from pulmonary edema. In the studies that I looked at for synthetic cannabinoid-related deaths, pulmonary edema was present in every single one, which was evident from the foam cone that was present at the time she was found lying prone with lividity blanching anteriorly. Yet it stated rigor had passed, which alone makes no sense if you know anything about rigor mortis and lividity. Yet at the same time, by the time her body was at the medical examiner's office the next day, May 10th, lividity was fixed posteriorly and rigor was present and resolving, which means she was moved from her stomach to her back while she was within the first 3 to 6 hours of rigor mortis setting in. So, when she was flipped over from her stomach to her back, lividity was blanching anteriorly. Lividity was present, meaning she was dead for hours. Yet, staff performed CPR on her until EMS arrived and then flipped her to a supine position and began CPR as well. Are you confused? It's okay, because it's very confusing. Let me explain. So, EMS were the ones to roll Amanda over from prone to supine, so from her stomach to her back. It states that on the first page of the summary of investigation. As you can see here, EMS was contacted, and upon arrival, they turned her into a supine position and started CPR. Yet, on the police report, it states that treatment center staff performed chest compressions until EMS arrived. Now, I have two issues with this. The first issue is obviously that it's inconsistent. Who rolled her from prone to supine, staff or EMS? The second issue is, if lividity was present, why even perform CPR? Her time of death was listed at 11:20 a.m., but the last time she was seen alive by treatment center staff was at 11:55 p.m. Nurse Roberta Kahn found Amanda prone around 9:30 a.m., 9.5 hours after she was last seen, quote unquote, fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. So, if rigor was fixed and resolving posteriorly the next day, even though it had begun anteriorly the day before, Amanda Rabb had to have died somewhere between 3:30 and 6:30 a.m. However, again, we have conflicting reports, and it's also possible that she passed away shortly after midnight, too, if rigor had passed by 11:20 a.m., as it states in the summary. And then we have the question of why. Why, if she was found dead at 9:30 a.m., did it take 2 whole hours to pronounce her? Okay, you guys, here's my opinion. Amanda Rabb passed away from neglect by both the facility, her father, and Lima Yevremovich. Lima ended up over her head and putting Amanda Rabb into a shitty rehab that is known to be neglectful in all ways. And because she wasn't close anymore, Lima wasn't physically able to visit Amanda much, nor was Larry. Going off of Desert Hope Treatment Center complaints, Amanda Rabb probably rarely, if ever, saw an actual medical doctor. She may or may not have been given her medications, which may or may not have been the right medications for her or the right doses. And it's also possible that she was smoking synthetic marijuana the night she died or the day before. But because of the extremely short half-life synthetic marijuana has, 3 days later, when the special add-on screen for these drugs were performed, the levels were so low that though they registered, they were just below the quote-unquote reporting limit, which is why it is not listed in the positive box, along with the aspirin and barbiturates that were also listed as being found, but not at the reporting limit. No matter what, Amanda Rabb was failed. She died because she was neglected. She was used as a way for Lima to promote her business, Aura, which she says was inevitably to help her sisters.
And if you want to know why it would help, just to read the petition.
Right.
It's literally laid out so that insurance companies pay for my sister's treatment, so that somebody, like, enough people care, because one person alone, I can't get a meeting with an insurance company, but if 100,000, 1 million people sign a petition saying, listen up, United, Kaiser, you need to start treating mental health like physical health, and there are ways to measure if someone's getting better or worse.
But in taking on a conservatorship was a huge responsibility, and she wasn't prepared for that responsibility. Certainly not financially.
So it was a really bad time in my life. So I had no money for my company. I didn't know how I was going to make payroll. I was having issues with my sisters. They were just doing really, really poorly, and they kept ending up in the hospital or near dead or whatever the case was.
Lima was supposed to fight for Amanda Rabb.
My immediate reaction was that I wanted to save her. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to pull her out of the dark. And I wanted to teach her that life could be beautiful. So I actually called Mark, and he's cut this out of our interview before because he wants me to seem like a saint, when in actuality I called Mark and I said, can we pick someone else, not Amanda? Amanda's really severe and I'm doing this for free. I'm not charging for my time, and Amanda doesn't want the help. Like I said, I had a list of people that I wanted to help, that I really felt emotionally connected to their stories. Mark told me, he was like, well, you said that you could help anybody, and if you help Amanda, then you'll win people over.
Right.
So I told him, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it.
But instead of keeping the tabs on her that were outlined in the conservatorship.
But an LPS conservatorship is only for mental health. Her current diagnosis is schizophrenic and bipolar, and we are going to review that diagnosis with our team and a team of specialists, see if there's any other underlying issues or if anything is a misdiagnosis. And so once she was in a facility for a longer period of time, they reached out and said, Amanda doesn't have schizophrenia, that was drug-induced.
She went about her life. wiping her hands of Amanda Rabb with the assumption that Desert Hope Treatment Center had it all handled.
My husband and I were visiting his mom in Chicago when I got the phone call. So we were having like brunch with his mom, and I got this call with Larry just calling me, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. And then like I made out what he was saying is Amanda's dead, Amanda's dead. And I'm like, Larry, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't even take it seriously. And he was like, they called me and they told me Amanda died. And I told him, I'm like, Larry, that's impossible. I just spoke to her. Like, there's no way.
Leema spoke about buying her a laptop to begin taking CNA courses and clothing.
One of smiles, laughter, and jokes about how I dress us both like we're retired. Myself, Mark, and Larry were the only people in her life that were actually trying to help her. And I had a very close relationship with her because she didn't have any other family aside from her father.
Right.
I was talking to her every single day. I spoke to her right before she passed away. Like, she had called me, and we were talking about, moving her. Like, I was asking her, like, what she wants to do, because she had started school. So I had gotten her a laptop, and she wanted to be a certified nursing assistant.
Patient at this recovery center.
What are your goals when you leave?
I want to go back to school to be a CNA. I think I would be really good at that, and it's something that I really would enjoy because I like helping people.
So we got her the book to start studying. We were enrolling her in online classes.
But did she ever make sure that Amanda's health was looked after? Of course, Leema is not a doctor or a nurse, but neither are most parents and guardians. That doesn't mean we don't educate ourselves and advocate for the people in our care. If Amanda Rabb were her child or her sister, would Leema have been so ignorant?
It's like a shock to me. I'm not trying to throw blame around. I too would like a proper death investigation to be done by Clark County, and I would like Clark County to release an official statement. I've had my attorneys reach out to them, and, I also want answers, but I would also let Clark County clarify why I read what the doctor, sent me, and why the report was not amended, and also why they came up with a cause of death without having all the facts or without having all the records. I'd like to have that answer.
Leema said she wanted answers too, but she didn't fight for them. And now it's too late. One thing I do have to say is, I believe they could have filed a wrongful death lawsuit and won. That's my opinion. And because of that, maybe money wasn't the end goal after all. Leema's reputation was far more important to her than Amanda Rabb's life and legacy was. And again, that's just my opinion, and that's where I'm going to end this video and this series, for now at least. Again, this entire video is just my opinion, except for where the facts are shown. Please have a wonderful rest of your week, your weekend, and be safe, be happy, be healthy, and most of all, always be unapologetically you. Bye-bye.